Hello everyone, welcome back. I hope you are doing good. So in this video, I'll be talking about greater SAC and lesser SAC and try to make it easier for you to understand. So I'll be talking about peritoneum in two videos. This will be the part one, which I already told you. I'll mainly be focusing on greater and lesser SAC, its origin, and in the next video, I'll be sharing more detail about peritoneum. For more better understanding of this topic, let's go back to embryology. So here you can see this, the one in blue is the ectoderm, the one in red represents mesoderm, and the one in yellow represents the endoderm. So mesoderm is paraxial, intermediate, and lateral plate mesoderm. So lateral plate has two parts, the parietal layer or the somatic layer and a visceral layer, that is a splanchnopluric layer of lateral plate mesoderm. And after the cephalocaudal folding of embryo, you can see the yolk sac, or from which the gut will be derived. The gut is surrounded by visceral mesoderm. It is attached to the posterior body wall by a dorsal mesentery, and there is an embryonic body cavity, and there is a parietal mesoderm. If we talk about gut specifically, the visceral mesoderm will form the visceral peritoneum, embryonic body cavity will become peritoneal cavity, and the parietal mesoderm will become the parietal peritoneum. So when we talk about embryo at the 5th week, this is the sagittal section. You can see the dorsal mesentery at different levels. At the level of stomach, it is called dorsal mesogastrium. At the level of duodenum, it is called dorsal mesoduodenum. At the level of small intestine, it is called mesentery proper. So MES word is the prefix used for peritoneal folds, and the next word will be the representing the organ. For example, mesogastrium, peritoneum of stomach, peritoneum of duodenum, and mesentery is enter means small intestine, and peritoneal fold of small intestine, and of colon it will be called dorsal mesocolon. So but there is also a ventral mesentery. Let me show you. Here you can see there's a dorsal mesentery which attaches gut to the posterior abdominal wall, but at some places there is also present a ventral mesentery. Now let's see at which places it is present. You can see the ventral mesentery, it is present at the level of lower esophagus, stomach, and upper duodenum. Now this lesser mesentery, when the liver grows into this ventral mesentery, it divides it into a lesser omentum and a falciform ligament. You can watch it in my previous video that I told you about falciform ligament, that it attaches liver to the anterior abdominal wall. So the lesser omentum is basically your hepatogastric and hepatoduodenal ligament, and it attaches the liver from liver to stomach and the duodenum. This will be your lesser omentum. You can see that there is rotation of stomach. Now when there is rotation of stomach, so this mesentery also changes its location. So you can see there was a stomach, there is a dorsal mesentery in which spleen is developing, a ventral mesentery which was divided by liver into a falciform ligament, and a lesser omentum. After the stomach rotation of stomach, I showed you in the previous picture, you can see positions of the organs changed, and this behind the stomach it became the omental bursa. Now remember, the lesser sac was only present till the level of duodenum. I'll be drawing it on my whiteboard and you can draw it along with me so it's easy to understand. And for hollow organs, I'll be using my bangles. So let's start with the horizontal section. So if this is a horizontal section, I told you that the organs develop by a dorsal mesogastrium. This represents the gut, and this represents the ventral mesogastrium. So this is the dorsal mesogastrium and this is the ventral mesogastrium. Now after the liver develops, it divides it into the lesser omentum and the falciform ligament. Now this is basically your lesser sac, and this will be your greater sac. After the rotation of the stomach, the organs, they kind of change their position, and then it will look something like in the picture I showed you before. Now let's see it in the sagittal section. But before I try to explain it in the sagittal section, I want you to imagine the peritoneum like a good flexible balloon. The organs are not inside the peritoneal cavity, but they project into it. Let's imagine this is a big one balloon. Now, if an organ, and it's very flexible, now if an organ tries to enter it, so the balloon will wrap around it like so. Okay, now let's imagine this is your liver. Now let's try to add one more organ, that is your stomach. So this will be your stomach, this will be your liver, and the balloon will wrap around it like so. Now these double folds of peritoneum, they are ligaments, and this one, because this is the liver, this is the stomach, it will be called hepatogastric ligament, and along with duodenum it will become the lesser omentum. Now let's try to place organs one by one. So I'll be using one bangle to represent the small intestine. All the coils of small intestine will be represented by one bangle. So when this balloon wraps around it, it will be something like this. Now this double fold of peritoneum, it will be called mesentery. Mes means fold of peritoneum, enter means small intestine, so mesentery. Next, let's also add transverse colon, which is just above the small intestine. Same with the small intestine, this peritoneum or the balloon will wrap around it. This will be called mesocolon. Similarly, let's add stomach and liver. So now I've added liver, stomach, transverse colon and small intestine. This is all you have to remember for the sagittal section. Now, from liver to stomach, this will be your lesser omentum, or I'm writing lesser omentum, it's basically your hepatogastric ligament. But this fold, from stomach to transverse colon, actually it is not directly towards stomach, towards the transverse colon. The folds actually hang in front of all the intestines and then go upward to attach to the transverse colon. So essentially the double layers of peritoneum, the layer of peritoneum, it kind of doubles itself. So normally the lesser omentum, it has two layers of peritoneum. So this will be your greater omentum. But actually it has 4 layers of peritoneum, 1, 2, 3 and 4. Now eventually these 4 layers will kind of fuse along with the mesocolon. Along with mesocolon, it will fuse. So this will be your greater omentum, this will be your lesser omentum. Now remember, along with the liver, stomach, this will be your, so all this area behind the stomach up to here, this is your lesser sac. And the rest of this area of peritoneal cavity is your greater sac. Now lesser sac is also called the omental bursa. So remember, from the horizontal section and from the sagittal section, I hope you can differentiate lesser sac from the greater sac. So the mesocolon, the mesocolon, that is peritoneal fold of, this is not kind of accurately made. This is only for you to understand. The mesocolon, that is the peritoneal fold for transverse colon, it attaches to the pancreas. So pancreas originally was intraperitoneal organ, but eventually it came behind the peritoneal cavity and became retroperitoneal. Also, duodenum is kind of almost behind the peritoneum. If the person is male, there's only rectum and urinary bladder, but if there's a female, there's also a urinary uterus present. So these kind of form a recess around it. The one between the rectum and uterus, it will be called recto-uterine pouch or pouch of Douglas, and also in front, vesico-uterine pouch. In males, uterus will not be there. There will only be recto-vesical pouch. Okay, so let me also explain this picture. This is from Grey's Anatomy. So this is the sagittal section. Here you can see liver, stomach. This is your transverse colon and all the small intestine, the jejunum and the ileum. So I told you from liver to stomach is present the lesser mentum. From stomach to transverse colon is present the greater mentum, which has 4 layers of peritoneum, and it hangs around the abdomen like so, and then it fuses with also the mesocolon. So this is your greater mentum. So yeah, we had lesser mentum. The one which hangs from the stomach is your greater mentum. Now the one behind the stomach is your lesser sac or your omental bursa. So I also told you that the mesocolon and I told you the greater mentum and mesocolon, they fuse and they attach to the pancreas right here, which is a retroperitoneal, that is behind the peritoneum. The duodenum is also almost behind the peritoneum. So all these are the loops of small intestine, and they have a mesentery. So we did the omental bursa, which is behind the stomach, and there's also a greater sac, the rest of the peritoneal cavity. Now remember, the omental bursa is only up to the level of duodenum. Remember, the ventral mesentery was from lower esophagus, stomach, and up to the omental bursa, and that when twisted formed the omental bursa or the lesser sac. So, and here you can see there is present rectum and the bladder. So this is a male patient, and this is your recto-vesical pouch. So that's it for this video. If this was helpful, please share it with your friends and like and subscribe to my channel. Thank you for watching.